Evolution Royale Hogs in a nutshell. Royale Hogs will be the next evolution coming to Clash Royale. You can find them in the next season's Diamond Pass. It has the exact same stats of the regular Royale Hogs and it's a 2-cycle evolution, which is interesting for a 5 elixir card, but I guess it can be played in a cycle deck, so it would be broken at 1 cycle only. Their main gimmick is that they are flying now. Just imagine the Nyan Cat music, cause it's probably copyrighted and I don't wanna mess with that. Damaging them by literally anything will cause them to drop down, and if they stayed unharmed, they will drop down once they reach a building, so you don't have to worry if your splash cards are ground only. Does that mean it's better to not waste a zap on them and just counter them when they reach the tower? I would say no for 2 reasons. First of all, damaging them before they hit the tower means less damage on your towers, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The second reason is drop damage. Yeah, they actually have fall damage. This fall damage will make it no longer possible to fully counter them with a building like it used to, because they will take it out much quicker. If it's just one Royal Hog, the fall damage isn't that high, it literally doesn't even kill a Spear Goblin, so it might seem like it's nothing to worry about. But when you combine all 4 of them, it's nearly enough to take out an Electro Wizard, so it's a force to be reckoned with. This drop damage is uncancelable, as in even if you ground them with vines, they will still damage the cards you place to kill them. They will drop on the ground even when frozen, dealing drop damage too, which I think is nice, cause can you imagine if they stay frozen in the air, wasting the 4 seconds where you can attack them? Evo Snowball is an exception here because the drop damage happens at the end of the roll, not at the start of it. Other than spells, you can use ranged cards to avoid the drop damage, or you can use air cards because it targets ground only. Now on paper, this ability might seem like a nerf against single targeting counters like Mini P.E.K.K.A, because they sometimes might not hit the same pig the tower is hitting and end up wasting shots on a 1 HP hog. The reality of this is that the drop animation is too slow that the Mini P.E.K.K.A will just end up running out of range after killing the first pig, and if you use a slow card like P.E.K.K.A, she will kill the first hog, but then all 3 will drop on the tower because they fly fast, so it barely changes the interaction. Against ground splashers, because the tower targets one of the middle piggies first, it will split them in a way where it would make them less vulnerable to splash. Obviously, depending on which card you are using, there would be some positions that would cover all 4 piggies, but the drop damage on the tower is alone enough of a reason to convince you to not counter them with just a splash attacker. It just makes much more sense to use a 1 elixir spirit to drop them down and then take them out in the old traditional way. Against ranged splashers, you might think that nothing would change since they target air anyway, so it would be the same. In reality, regular Royal Hogs being a ground troop means they have to go through the bridge, so they get in a square formation like this. When they are flying, they won't have to do that, so they will remain more spread out, which means it's just a tiny bit harder to splash them. Not going over the bridge has other effects too, like this 1 pig will bypass every building placement that used to work on them. Your muscle memory will fail you if you think of this Evo as the same regular Royal Hogs and use the same regular building placements. Instead, you need to treat them like you treat a balloon and use the same positions as the balloon, which oftentimes would suck since it's closer to your tower. This is even worse for anti-earthquake positions, as these will have 2 hogs bypassing instead of 1. Technically speaking, you can still push them into the building, but most cycle decks don't have an air card that would do this trick. It's not entirely useless though, cause Skeleton Barrel exists and it's often always played with a building, so it's worth learning the trick. But keep in mind, with any building other than a Tesla, you can only push 1 of the 2 hogs because it's just placed too far away. Now when using them, I think they will still be an integral part of the Royal Recruits deck, as they will be more effective in cleaning out buildings with their drop damage. They can bait out air units because the opponent wouldn't want to take the drop damage on their tower, and then boom, your flying machine is safe now. I do think Recruits Bait will now use them instead of Hog Rider because they can bait out small spells like Zap or Rage. They won't be like the most efficient spell bait card because Log doesn't work on them, but they are at least slightly better than normal Hog Rider. Needless to say, don't try them in Lava Hound decks. I know it looks goofy, but it's not worth it, I promise. For King activations, if they go all piggies on one side and you want to use Fisherman, nothing really changes here, you can just play him like normal. If they split them in the middle, you want to play your Fisherman on the same side of their deploy timer, so that way he can pull 1 to the king. If you play it on the opposite side of the deploy timer, the Fisherman will literally work towards that 1 pig instead of pulling it, leading to no king activations. If it was a 3-1 split, technically both sides will work if you ignore the damage and only play Fisherman. If you want to defend some damage, I would go for the Fisherman on the same side as the singular Hog, because if you go for the other side, the Hog he pulls will get kinda stuck around him and the 2 towers will kill it before it bites the King Tower. For Tornado, nothing really changed. The main outlier is that if they split them in the middle, it's much easier to get the timing right to pull all 3 Hogs on the King instead of 2. If they go all 4 in one lane, it's also easier timing wise, but the outer 2 Hogs are not gonna be pulled into the tile where both towers will be targeting them. 3-1 split is where all the difference lies in Tornado interactions, because the flying path makes it possible to pull all 4 of them into the King Tower, so you don't have to spend more elixir to lower the damage you would take. Here's the new arena. We didn't get the full art on this one for some reason, and I noticed it way too late to ask for it. But either way, it has a cool Hoggy blimp, and that's all that matters. Here is the new sound effects. So I spent like 15 minutes trying to think of what to say here, and I can't really think of anything. So just tell me a fun fact about yourself, my dudes.